God exists, okay? But I will, through this lecture, give you necessary data and skills and equipment and information to point you towards that search on your own, because otherwise you'll just be taking my word for it. But by following certain critical thinking skills and basic information, hopefully you'll be able to find that answer on your own. And that's the only sustainable stand one can take when it comes to topics like this, because you want to be inclusive of both the atheists, the theists, the agnostics, and the Gnostics. Okay, so at this point of the lecture, that's my stand. So let's look at the definition. Atheist or agnostic view. The atheist is no, non-believer, unbelief, disbelief in God or deities. Agnostics means I don't know. That means somebody denying God's existence, denying that God's existence is verbal. That means the agnostic says, I don't know, but God, you can't describe it. Okay? Who believes that it is impossible to know whether or not God exists. Okay, so their attitude is, don't even talk to me about it, because it is not possible to know whether God exists or not. It's impossible to know. Okay, so by definition, they exclude themselves from this discussion. Okay, so therefore it is extremely difficult to talk to agnostics. Okay? Because in their mind, they already define. They're within the box thinking is that this is something we will never know. So you can talk to blue to your face, and his attitude is, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so it's a pointless exercise. Or somebody denying something is knowable. You will never know. For example, we will never know whether there's another universe parallel to this one, or we'll never know what was 1 second before the Big Bang, or why did God create us. So things that's not knowable, who doubt that a question has one correct answer, or that something can be completely understood. All right, so again, they box themselves within that. It's like, I'm a kindergarten kid, and I will never know algebra. Well, fine, then you will never know algebra. Right? It's that kind of because at his consciousness level, he defined that it's not a knowable, approachable question, right? That's all has to do. It's a finite thinking mode, okay? So go back to lecture 1. So agnostics, please review my lecture 1 before you can continue. Okay. Now the antonym or the opposite of the agnostic is again, it means no. Now Gnostic or Gnosticism means knowledge of spiritual truth. Okay. This term has just emerged recently since the discovery of the Dead Sea Scroll, the original Jesus teaching, the original spiritualism, and these the agnostic sect of Christianity is now beginning to emerge as a very powerful force, which before was pretty much an outcast in mainstream Catholicism. So watch out for this word, agnostic. So let's try to understand the view on life based on a classical so-called scientific perception. All right. So what does a scientist do? Well, scientists, they study biology. Well, what does biology include? It includes anatomy, physiology, psychology, everything that makes up the human being, right? And we've gone through all this in lecture 2, so I won't do that again. And all this by reductionism can be reduced to biochemistry. Okay, all the anatomy are made up of cells, physiology, made up of hormones and all this protein doing the things, psychology, again, our brain functions, our neurons, our electrical currents, and our neurotransmitter, and everything can be reduced to biochemistry. And then from biochemistry, everything can be reduced to chemistry because all your DNA molecules, your protein, and everything is made by simple chemicals. So your nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, and so on and so forth, right? Inorganic chemistry. And then reduce to physics. All your chemistry, your atoms, your everything is an electron cloud and everything. So there's all energy levels. So within this whole matrix of knowledge, there's no God there, and there's no ghost there, there's no soul there, no spirit there. We cannot find nothing. We do find different spectrums of energy. Okay? So that is what the classical scientific perception, and I use the word classical because New Age scientists don't think like that. Okay? This is just traditional. This is a kind of, again, another box in thinking which limits their perception to that reality. So, the perception, therefore, is the scientists, the classical scientists would say, well, we know most of everything about the natural world already. Right? We know about human, we know about zoology, we know about plants, we know about animals, we know about fossils, we know about evolution, carbon dating. We know just about everything about the natural world, geography, oceanology and everything, cosmology, we know everything, almost everything. No God there. So we see no evidence of supernatural, okay? Within